Have you ever noticed how many cultures have those spooky vanishing hitchhiker stories?
Yeah, it's pretty wild, right? Someone's driving along and they see someone needing a ride, they pick them up, and
And poof, they're gone.
it's like they were never even there. Like chills?
It's super creepy. For some reason, we just can't get enough of these kinds of stories
Yeah, you see them everywhere.
everywhere. And today we're diving into one of the most famous vanishing hitchhiker stories from right here in Chicago.
Oh, yeah, Chicago's got its fair share of ghost stories.
Oh, definitely. We're talking about Resurrection Mary.
Resurrection Mary,
Yes.
classic.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
one of the all-time greats.
And we've got a ton of articles and research here all about her. So
Cool. So we're gonna like fact check the ghost story. Is that the plan?
kind of. I mean, with ghost stories, it's more about trying to understand why people believe them,
Hmm.
and what makes this particular story tick.
Right. Yeah. Like what makes it so special that it's stuck around for so long?
Totally. And for Resurrection Mary, it seems like two places are super important to the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. Which ones I bet I can guess?
Okay, go for it.
Resurrection Cemetery, duh.
Obviously, that's like her namesake.
And probably somewhere with a dance floor.
Bingo. You got it.
I knew it. Was it the Willowbrook Ballroom?
It was, well, actually, back in the day, it was called the O. Henry Ballroom.
Oh.
But yeah, same place.
Okay, so we've got a cemetery and a ballroom, both on Archer Avenue.
Yep. And that stretch of Archer Avenue between those two spots is where most of the Resurrection Mary sightings happen.
So that's our like spooky zone.
Exactly. Our spooky zone, and that's where we're going to focus today.
Cool. Should we start with what she's supposed to look like?
Oh, yeah, good idea. So picture this. You're driving along Archer Avenue at night.
Okay, I'm picturing it. It's dark, a little foggy maybe.
Ooh, yeah, good touch with the fog. And you see this young woman by the side of the road. She's wearing a white party dress.
Like a long flowing one?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Like she just came from a fancy event.
Yeah. And she's got that like sad, lost look on her face.
A lot of the reports mention that she's got light blonde hair and blue eyes.
So she's like this classic ethereal beauty.
Exactly. Sometimes people say she's wearing a shawl, like a thin one.
Yeah, to keep warm. It's chilly out there, especially with the fog we added.
Right. And some say she's got dancing shoes on and a little clutch purse.
Okay, so she's all dressed up, maybe coming home from a night out at the ballroom.
That's the common idea. And here's the thing. She doesn't talk much.
Ooh, so she's mysterious.
Totally. And you think you're doing a good deed, giving her a ride, but then as you get closer to Resurrection Cemetery,
She disappears.
poof,
Yeah.
gone.
Wow, every time.
Pretty much. And usually right as you're passing the cemetery gates.
That's so freaky.
I know. And this isn't just like a one-time thing. People have been reporting seeing Resurrection Mary for decades.
Decades. Like, how long are we talking?
Since the 1930s. There was even this article on the Chicago Tribune where they
Oh.
talked to this ghost hunter named Richard Crow.
Okay, a ghost hunt.
Yeah, and he said he'd collected over 3 dozen, like, verified reports of Mary sightings.
Wow, 3 dozen. That's a lot.
Yeah, so this story has some serious staying power.
Yeah, there must be something to it. So, like, why is she doing this? What's her deal?
Well, that's where the origin story comes in. The most popular explanation is tied directly to that, oh, Henry Ballroom we were talking about.
Oh, I bet it's a tragic love story.
You got it. So the story goes that Mary was at the ballroom one night, maybe with her boyfriend, and they had this big fight.
Oh, no. A lover's quarrel.
Yeah, things got heated, and Mary, being upset, she stormed out of the ballroom
Alone.
alone and heartbroken, and she started walking up Archer Avenue, maybe trying to clear her head, maybe heading home,
Oh, no. I see where this is going.
and then tragedy strikes. The stories say she was hit by a car, a hit and run.
Oh, man, that's awful.
I know, and the driver just kept going, never found it.
So sad.
It is. And then her parents, devastated, they found her and buried her in Resurrection Cemetery.
Dressed in her white party dress.
Exactly the one she wore that night to the ballroom.
Makes sense. So she's like forever stuck reliving that night, looking for a ride home.
That's the idea. And it's a story that really resonates with people. It's got that element of tragedy and loss and the unknown.
Right? And the ballroom and the cemetery, they're real places.
That's right. It makes it all feel more real, more tangible.
And people love a good ghost story, especially one that feels connected to their own backyard. But there are like a lot of different versions of the Mary story, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like one of the earliest accounts we have is from this guy, Jerry Pallas, back in 1939.
1939.
Yeah. And he actually said he met Mary, or at least he thought it was her later, at a different place altogether.
Not the oh Henry Ballroom.
Nope.
Yeah.
This was at the Liberty Grove and Hall, which was over on 47th and Mozart.
So a totally different part of town.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He still ended up driving her along Archer Avenue, and she still vanished in front of Resurrection Cemetery.
Okay, so the ending stays the same.
Exactly. It's like
Ugh.
that part's essential to the story.
Right, it's like her final destination or something. It's all about the cemetery.
And then there are these reports from 1973. One puts Mary at Harlow's nightclub on Cicero Avenue.
Another nightclub. So maybe she's like a party girl ghost?
Maybe. And that same year, there's a story about a cab driver going into Chet's Melody Lounge, which was right across from Resurrection Cemetery.
Oh, wow, right across the street.
Yeah, and he's asking if anyone saw this young woman who didn't pay her fare.
So maybe that was Mary skipping out on the bill.
Maybe. And then you've got all these stories about drivers almost hitting Mary outside the cemetery.
Oh, yeah, those are classic. She just appears out of nowhere, right?
Yep. And then vanishes before they can even react. Like one
Yep.
minute she's there, the next she's gone.
Spooky.
Right. And then there's that wild story from 1976 about burned handprints on the cemetery fence.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about those.
Yeah, some people thought it was proof that Mary was real, that she was trying to get in or out of the cemetery.
Like she was reaching out from beyond the grave.
But the cemetery official said it was just damage from a truck.
Oh, bummer. So much for ghostly evidence.
Right. But, it just adds to the mystery.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, now this is a good one. In 1979, this columnist named Bill Geist wrote about a cab driver named Ralph who picked up Mary.
A cab driver, so she takes cabs too.
Apparently, and this story is really detailed, Ralph described her as really young and attractive, maybe around 21.
So she's not aging, classic ghost move.
They're driving along Archer Avenue, and then, out of nowhere, she yells, "Here, here," and points to the left.
Like she's found her stop.
Yeah, but there's nothing there, just a cemetery.
Oh, wow, chills.
And when Ralph turns back to look at her, she's gone.
Gone from a moving cab.
From a moving cab, doors locked the whole time.
No way. There's no logical explanation for that.
Right. And Geist was really convinced that Ralph was telling the truth. He even called Mary Chicago area's preeminent ghost.
So this story made people really start to believe.
I think so. It was a big deal. And then, of course, everyone wanted to know, who was the real Mary?
Yeah, like was there an actual person behind this ghost story?
People started looking through cemetery records, trying to find a Mary who might fit the timeline and the details.
Like a real detective work.
Totally. One of the first names that came up was Mary Bregovi. She died in a car accident in 1934, downtown Chicago.
Oh, downtown. That's not near Archer Avenue, though.
Yeah, that was the problem. Wrong location. Then, in 1999, a Chicago author named Ursula Bielski proposed another theory.
Okay, a new suspect.
This one connected Mary to a woman named Anna Maria Norcus.
Maria. Okay.
And here's the key. She died in a car accident in 1927 on her way home from guess where?
The O. Henry Ballroom.
The O. Henry Ballroom.
Wow, now that's a connection.
It is. Bielski's theory has become really popular over the years because it just fits so well with the whole story.
Right place, right time, right tragic ending.
So when we look at all these reports and theories,
Mm.
what do you think are the most important parts of the Resurrection Mary story?
Well, it all comes back to Archer Avenue for sure.
Archer Avenue.
Yeah.
That's the common thread.
Especially that stretch between the ballroom and the cemetery.
The spooky zone.
Yeah, the spooky zone. And then there's the white dress, of course. She's always described wearing a white party dress.
It's like her signature look.
And of course, the disappearing act at the cemetery gates. That's the climax of every encounter.
It's what makes her a vanishing hitchhiker.
Exactly. And even though there are all these different versions of the story, those core elements stay pretty much the same.
It's like they're the rules of the game.
Right. And maybe that's why the story's so powerful. It's got this mix of real places, consistent details, and then this big, unexplained mystery at the heart of it all.
It leaves you wondering, did these people really see a ghost? Or is it something else?
That's the question, isn't it?
It is. And I think that's part of what makes these stories so fascinating. They tap into our sense of wonder and our fear of the unknown.
Totally. And even if we can't prove or disprove them, they still make us think about the world in a different way.
So there you have it. The Legend of Resurrection Mary. A Chicago ghost story that's been told and retold for almost a century.
And it doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon.
Nope. I have a feeling people will be seeing Mary on Archer Avenue for many years to come.
As long as there are cemeteries and ballrooms and people looking for a good scare.
That's right. And that's what makes these local legends so fascinating. They become part of our identity, part of the stories we tell ourselves about the places we live.
They're like our own little pieces of history, even if they're not entirely true.
And that's something to think about. Why do we hold on to these stories? What do they tell us about ourselves and our communities?
I don't know, but I think that's a conversation for another deep dive.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next time.